Ready?
I'm ready.
Well, we were in Philadelphia in the Depression. My dad had lost his house, lost his car, banks closed up, lost a little bit of money that he had there. Had to move in with my grandparents. Fortunately, my grandfather was making $100 a month, and we all lived on that. My dad had a job, but when the Depression came along, he got cut back, and finally, by the time he was out of a job in 1931, you couldn't buy one. And he tried every place. He had a good job in electrical construction. And my mother's people lived in Sykesville. And my grandfather was mine foreman at the Cascade Coal Company there. But he said to my father, why don't you come out and go up to Helvetia, which is a R&P Coal Company mine, and see if you might be able to get a job electrician there. So my dad, 1934, in the spring, he went out there, and he went up to Helvetia Mine and met the superintendent that I became very well acquainted with later. And he said, oh, we don't hire any electrical work here. That's all. The main office is in Indiana. You'd have to go down there and talk to the electrical engineer. So he went to Indiana and went to R&P's office and asked the electrical engineer, whose name was Russ Gard. Got to know him real well later on. And he interviewed him, and he said, the mines are only working 1 and 2 days a week. He said, we're just barely making it. We're not hiring anybody. Took him talking to him about his resume, where all he worked, and he said, well, last job, of course, I was superintendent for United Engineers and Constructors in Philadelphia. Russ said, they were a big company all over the world. Russ said, I used to work for them. Well, they didn't know each other, but they had mutual friends. It ended up, he said, we'll give you a job. So my dad got the job working for electrician for R&P Coal Company. And, of course, we're still in Philadelphia. He's out in Indiana just boarding. And so then he got a company house, $35 a month for a company house right there on Oakland Avenue. And then we all moved out to Indiana in November of 1934. And I was a junior in high school. So we started the high school on the Monday before Thanksgiving. It was just 3 days of classes and then Thanksgiving. And so got to get in all our classes, So I'd been taking physics, and so got into this physics class, and Jim McKelvey was a teacher. He was a very good teacher. I thought maybe Jim was knocking the door or something. Maybe he's just standing up out there blowing. I thought he was coming to the door. But it was all boys except for 3 girls. And then one was a fat redhead. The other was a homely looking brown blonde, I guess. But boy, that third one, wow, what a sharp looking cookie. Dark brown hair, flashing brown eyes. And her name was Martha Vinton. And so met her. And so then after Thanksgiving, got going to school and started meeting a couple of guys. One of them be Don Everett, who is still living. I've referred to him before. And one of the only 3 classmates that I know that are left. But got acquainted with him in Carlisle now. And I said something about, boy, that sharp-looking gal in physics class, Martha Britton. Oh, I never said, man, you never get near her. Her family's real religious. Her dad was general superintendent of the coal company, and man, you'd never get near her. Oh. So that's what they told me. But I started working on things, and I'll give you the whole story of this. And there were no school buses back then. And we had a Model A Ford. My dad bought this '29 Ford for $60, and man, we thought that was a Cadillac. And so I drove it to school, took the kids. Well, the Vittons lived on out of town, had a great big house out there, a mansion, and she would ride to school with her dad and ride back and forth. And sometimes she would walk. And I noticed that she'd walk. Well, this one day, my mother sent me up to the store, and I was coming down 13th Street, right Oakland Avenue, and just the time I got there to stop, here comes Martha walking. Man, I saw her. I couldn't hold the brake on. My foot was going like that. And man, so I said, hey, Martha, could I give you a ride home? Oh, she said, I guess so. She come around, got in the car, and I took her home. Wow, that was the beginning. Never had that happen to me.
What was happening to your leg when you saw her, Grandpa?
Huh?
What was happening to your foot when you saw her?
What? Whatever. I was in a nervous state.
So you took her home. Then what happened?
Well, of course, over time, things developed, and we started to date. They were very strict. We were allowed 2 dates a week till 10:30 at night. And the instructions from our mother, don't park.
Keep moving, huh?
Million other things happened. But anyhow, when we got a little better acquainted, and I said something about how happy we were to come to Indiana from Philadelphia. We just come through the Depression. And she says, what depression? Her father had a good job. She didn't know there was a depression. And then we got talking later on about church, and I said, I was Baptist, my family all raised Baptist church, and I said, well, what church do you go to? She says, Pentecostal. I said, what's Pentecostal? Things developed from there. So, million different things.